I think President-elect Trump has made no secret he wants to use tariffs again as leverage to do some rebalancing in the trading goods space where he believes it has been out of whack. We have been importing a lot more than we've been exporting. So, the first term is a lot of steel and aluminum. He would also bring up cars, car parts. He had a long laundry list of things that his administration wanted to kind of rebalance. I think they're going to do that again. They're being very upfront about it. So I think in our space, the first term he was there, he did tariffs, but then he always kind of wanted a deal at the end to negotiate, a new deal of the trade rules. Hopefully that will be the case again, as opposed to permanent new tariffs that could potentially pose retaliatory tariffs against some of the products we promote: corn, ethanol, barley, sorghum. We hope that these new tariffs are kind of a leverage point as a means to an end of some of the stuff they're upset about versus a new permanent normal, I suppose. But we don't have the final details on what the tariffs will look like. We don't exactly, I suspect our trading partners who get hit with them will retaliate, but we don't exactly know how they will respond yet either. So it's still a lot of speculation at this point, but it seems clear that President Trump has made no bones about the fact he's gonna do tariffs again.
Does this have a significant chance of impacting corn profitability?
Potentially. There's kind of two. I would say there's a short term and a long term to it. So short term, our trading partners retaliate. So whether it's Mexico or Canada, two of our biggest markets that he's specifically singled out for tariffs, yes, I think it could lower the price our farmers could receive. So in the short term, there could be lower prices. Last time Congress took action to kind of ameliorate those problems with payments. But the longer term is if we disadvantage ourselves. Brazil has a lot of capacity to expand. They're expanding every year. If we do these tariffs that in the global marketplace, disadvantage us economically speaking, they're only going to accelerate their expansion. And then at some point, when the trade war is over, hopefully, or if we're going to have a new one, those Brazil acres are still going to be there in production. So we got to compete with those forever. So I see kind of a short-term and a long-term potential problem here for producers.
As we look at the opportunities for increasing corn to our biggest customer right now, Mexico, we've still got a little asterisk hanging out over here of what's going to happen with the trade complaint with the USMCA. Any thoughts on how this will impact all of the corn that right now we are selling to Mexico and really benefiting from?
That's another great question. So the USMCA case you mentioned on biotech, and for some quick history, in 2020, their president, actually end of 2020, it was like the last day of 2020, their president issued a decree saying Mexico would no longer allow genetically modified corn at all. Then in February of 2023, they updated that decree and said you can still use biotech corn to feed livestock and purposes like that, but we're going to say no biotech corn for human consumption. And so that is still the status quo of their policy. President Biden's USTR challenged that within the apparatus of USMCA. That case has unfolded over the summer. We expect a decision to be announced probably early to mid-December of this year. There are some press reports indicating we will be victorious. I hope they're right, but we don't know until the thing's really posted. I think that is. We want to win that case first. After we win that case, then we can look at what we can do to get Mexico to hopefully come into compliance, because we simply reject. Even if they're our number one customer on corn and number two yellow is obviously still going down there by the train load with their all-time record of U.S. corn imports last year of 23.5 million metric tons, basically. Them having the policy saying biotech corn is not safe for human consumption on the books is still just completely unacceptable, because we know that's not the case. There's over 3,000 scientific studies that have been done over the last 2 decades that say that's not the case. Even our friends in Europe that pretend to hate biotech approve these traits and say they are safe when you read the fine print. So, hopefully, first we have to win, then we will, hopefully be able to work on bringing them into compliance with the scientific, rules-based trade policies they signed up for.
We have looked at Brazil being a good market for ethanol, but the last I heard was that they're kind of shoving the decision over to all of the other Latin American countries. That was a new one on me.
I have not heard much about that. I do know they still have a tariff against our ethanol imports, and their ethanol gets to come here without a tariff. Ideally, maybe that's one of the things President Trump can work to solve for us with Brazil. But it is a bit frustrating to see the way they treat our ethanol. We as the Grains Council have a global footprint, a lot of farmers. So we are funded with MAP FMD dollars, but those are leveraged with our checkoff dollars, whether it's sorghum, corn, barley. So it takes both the checkoff dollars and the MAP and FMD dollars, as well as the new RAP dollars. A lot of farmers, if you're one of our members or sent to our conferences, you're familiar with this. But I grew up on a farm an hour from here in Kansas City. You may not be familiar with us. That's because our footprint is all overseas. Our job is overseas. You don't see us a lot around here domestically, even though you are funding us, and we are doing good work. We opened an office in India 2 years ago now, to hopefully start to work to open that market up. I think that'll take a while and be kind of another long slug, but you got to start sometime. So we're doing some good work there. Also Africa with, Africa is a magnificent continent. It's got a lot of potential, but also a lot of challenges. But we have been there, for many years, starting to help those people just understand, how we use corn and corn-soy rations to feed our livestock. So like in Africa, I'm going to go ahead and guess the poultry industry will be the first one to really develop over there in a major way. We have programs, and we actually have like a lab over there to kind of teach them how we have been doing compound feed on the farm for 100 years here in our country. Training them, and hopefully their poultry industry gets off the ground. Eventually that's another new significant market for U.S. corn in the future. So those are a lot of the things we do that farmers don't necessarily see us do, but I assure you we are doing them.
Dr. Vijay Singh at the University of Illinois is a pretty good asset for you folks.
Yeah, he is. I've talked to him once or twice. I am not his primary contact at the council, but he is certainly one of our go-tos. He's been a great colleague to work with.